To stand for the coming award.
So I welcome you all for this special lecture by Dr. Selvin Stanley. Dr. Selvin Stanley is here now for the past 1 year in UK at the University of Plymouth as a faculty member of social work.
Education, before we try to look at social work education, I would like to highlight a few social issues because as a profession we are there to deal with various social issues. So the social issues form the background against which we practice our methods of social work. So I think it's important to understand the kind of cultural differences, the kind of socio-cultural issues which are there in the West and which we face in India as well. Number one social problem is poverty. I usually talk about the big three. In the Indian context, I talk about the big three: poverty, illiteracy, unemployment. It's a vicious cycle, and it's very difficult to, each perpetuates the other. Most of our problems have an economic basis. Children in distress, children who are runaways, or whether you're dealing with sex workers, or whether you're dealing with, the common man on the street, you will see that most of the issues actually have an economic basis. And that is one huge difference which changes the complexion of social work practice in the West, because their economic reasons do not predominate. Most of our problems, like I said, have an economic basis. Over there, the problems are not of an economic nature. I have seen homeless people. Homelessness is a big issue over there. But if you look at the social issues which the West is facing, it's very paradoxical. The bulk is at the bottom, which is trying to understand issues relating to children. Children are a number one priority in the Western society. So virtually all social work practice, I would say 60% of social workers practice intervention with children. And if you look at this class of children, they have different problems. Most of the problems stem from broken families. Go to a normal family as parents and children, they would not like it because they would say that the family has changed. Just like we had extended families, joint families, which have now transformed into the nuclear families, they say families over there have just become single-parent families. They have become single-parent families, they have become same-sex parented families. Okay, so their issues are totally different. So a bulk of social workers practice intervention with children who come from broken families or disturbed families or sort of different from the kind of understanding of the concept of family that we over here in India have. And increasingly in India as well, the graying population, the senior citizen, is again a very huge target population, and there again the problems are very different because life expectancy rates have gone up, quality of life has gone up, accessibility to medicine, healthcare, all that has gone up, and that means more elderly people. It means that is the apex body of us over there, General Social Care Council. So all social workers have to be registered. So you have a social work register, and if in your practice you are involved in misconduct, then your name is struck off the register. You cannot practice social work ever again. Okay. So the system is transparent, and at the same time it is very, very kind of it's not a very permissive environment like we have over here. Okay. What we need in terms of education is that our theory is good, our theoretical base which our students get is good, our fieldwork supervision is very intense. Our system over there is totally different. I am not involved in fieldwork supervision, for example. we have a group of people who are called practice learning managers. The practice learning managers deal with the fieldwork aspect. It's not even called fieldwork over there. It's called placement learning. Okay. The changing nomenclature, the changing terminology which people are using over there. The major difference regarding the status of social work over there is that social workers are involved in policy. Social workers influence policy changes, bring about new policy regulations. Social work is a very political profession now. I have always believed that even whether you are in India, a social worker cannot be a non-political person. You cannot be apolitical. Social work is a political profession. Okay. And social workers over there are involved in the policy making of important parties over there. For example, the Labour Party and the Conservative Party have a team of social workers who advise them on policy issues relating to children, elderly, etc. So, and the visibility is for social work as a profession in terms of changing. The example I gave you of the Lemming report is again an example of how the GACC is ultimately dictating to us now what we should be teaching our students. Tsunami survivors, or whether it is for women or children, we implement programs to promote welfare. Over there, their NGOs are mostly funding agencies. They are mostly fundraisers who raise funds and then support NGOs globally. So that is a major difference. But I don't see very active kind of community-based work undertaken by NGOs over there. Research, students do not do the kind of research which you do. You are expected to do some qualitative or quantitative research and produce it in the form of a dissertation. On the undergraduate level at dissertation, nobody does research at the undergraduate level. The master's program has a dissertation, but their dissertations is like you speak to 10 people, interview 10 people or 15 people, and you write. So our students, after their placement learning experience, they submit what is known as a portfolio. Meaning a field of files, on the end of the term, they submit a portfolio. And the major difference I find is that the portfolio is expected to be reflective and analytical. நான் என்னது தப்பா செஞ்சேன், நான் என்னது வித்தியாசமா செஞ்சிருக்கலாம், நான் ஏன் இதை செஞ்சேன், அந்த மாதிரி வந்து explanation students are encouraged to write rather than description. I think India is the only country where HR is there as part of social work. My opinion is that HR has no business within social work. We took on HR pre-independence because we thought it would give us an identity. Because the Factories Act was just coming up, and the Factories Act spoke about the role of welfare officers. Historically, contextually, philosophically, methodologically, HR and social work are strange bedfellows. Talk to any Western social worker about HR and labor welfare, they will not understand. It will go above their head. They can understand medical, they can understand community development, they can understand family and child welfare, but they can never touch this HR as responsibility. You are right when you say that we have taken a lot from the West, and we have benefited a lot from it also. Not only in terms of our education, but also in terms of the social infrastructure. The railways, the ports, the electricity, whatever it is, we have benefited. I think it is now time for us to give back something to the West. There is a lot, particularly within the arena of social work, that we can infuse into their system rather than learn from them now. And I am becoming very vocal over there by telling them to get back to basics, particularly to focus on methods of social work, which I believe are very important. Okay, so I think we can make a change. And there is a think tank of people, particularly very senior academics in the UK, like Bill Jordan, for example, who believes that they can learn a lot from Asian social work.